Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Short Box, the real Short Box. I am Donald.
I'm Jarrett.
And I am Kevin.
And we are here today discussing 80s books?
Favorite storylines from the 1980s.
Yes.
Classic 80s stories that I'm sure some of you have read, some of you have not read. But if not, we're going to take you back in time to the good old days.
Like the time when Flock of Seagulls fought the X-Men, right? Like that?
Like that?
No, that never happened.
Ooh, that would be
Would be a cool battle, huh?
fascinating. Yeah.
Wolverine
New
just cut the
wave.
dude's hair off and he's dead.
You know, the days of when heroes, dressed like those cool, neon colors, from the 80s colors. Those, what was Wolverine dressed like?
Light brown,
He was
dark brown.
poop colored.
He was a
Oh, I
poop color,
remember.
yeah.
And you had heroes
He was a
like,
healthy poop color.
Pooperine.
Yeah.
and you had heroes like the Dazzler, who were just fit for
yeah.
the 80s. Perfect for the 80s.
Oh, man.
Well, more 70s and 80s, I would say. But
Well, yeah, she was like a disco character. True. Very
Yeah.
true.
But her 80s costume was pretty dope. The like, spandex blue, skin tight.
you just like women.
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
There it is.
And also, you can't forget Storm's mohawk.
Oh, yeah, Storm's mohawk.
That was pretty sexy.
This shit.
I will say.
All right, so Donald, you gonna go up first?
I can, yeah, sure. What I was originally going to do, and I'm just going to briefly mention it, was I was originally going to do Alan Moore's run, and most of you would say, oh, The Watchmen. No. I was originally going to do his run on Swamp Thing.
Nice.
And the reason why I chose not to is I found something more ridiculous, and I couldn't pass it up. But just to briefly, I just want to say that Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing is seminal. It changes things about Alec Holland that you would not think possible, and it's well worth the price of admission, so to speak. They have it in paperback as well as hardback, and I highly recommend it. But I'm just going to toss this right out of the way, and we're going to go to my What If collection.
Nice.
Now, here's something to me that Marvel did really well, and they just threw anything against the wall and was like, we'll see what sticks. Some of it stuck, some of it was really good,
Yeah, there's some great ones,
some of it was utter trash.
and there were some terrible ones.
I mean, what if Wolverine killed the Hulk? Classic. What if the Hulk had killed Wolverine? Another classic.
What if I think my favorite one? It's also one of my favorite one issues was what if the X-Men lost the Inferno, that whole Inferno storyline.
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
pretty much Malin Pryor, basically the Goblin Queen won, essentially.
Yeah, and everybody becomes like demonized. It's really good. It's really good.
So they do some great ones, and the ones I picked here is from a trade that pulls from, and I cheated a little bit, from the late 70s to early 80s.
God.
I know, I'm sorry. But, in this one, what if the Fantastic Four were the original Marvel bullpen? So it's
That's like such an insider baseball like jerk off session for like the Marvel people too. They're just like, what if we
Right.
get to be superheroes?
there's this one here, which this one kind of cracked me up just reading it. What if the world knew Daredevil was blind?
It wouldn't mean shit because he's still his senses are so still better. Like he can pretty much see, quote unquote, better than a normal human. So they'd just be like, oh, it doesn't mean shit. He can still kick all our asses.
Yeah, and then they come out with some interesting ones, like what if Rick Jones had become the Hulk?
That's a cool idea.
And what if, there's one that actually came true, what if Jane Foster had found the hammer of Thor?
Yes, and we were talking about this earlier that so technically, Jane Foster, if you don't know, is currently Thor, and it's a pretty cool story. It's basically like she's got cancer, but then when she puts the mantle of Thor on, she's super strong. Yeah, she's Thor. But so her first appearance as Jane Foster is this new Thor, the Marvel Now #1. But as Donald just mentioned, there is this what if from late 70s, early 80s where it's Jane Foster as Thor. So there's some, argument if you want.
Yeah, definitely.
And an excuse to charge $30 for a comic book that's probably like $2.
For what if.
Yeah.
And that actually spurred a lot of shops to start charging extra. Because I don't know why, but they were thinking, oh, well, maybe they'll get other what if stories and put them in real canon, and we'll just charge $10 for this $2 issue.
That'll be like Marvel Cinematic Universe, like year 23, when they're just dead out of ideas. They're like, all right, what if stories?
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
what do you guys prefer? Do you prefer the What If stories or the Elseworld stories?
Now, see, that's something I was going to get into because What If was such a huge hit for Marvel that DC, and I'm sure, was like, oh crap,
Yeah.
we need to have this kind of thing.
Right.
So they came up with a whole another universe called the Elseworlds, and the Elseworlds was basically instead of what if this or this, it was just like for example, I think it was what was a Superman Under a Red Sun, if I recall.
Superman Red Sun, where
Red Sun,
Superman crash lands in
Russia.
Russia instead of the United States.
Yeah, so
That's
that's
a great story.
That's a great what if type scenario,
Yeah.
but it's an Elseworld book,
Right.
from DC. So that was kind of their way
Response.
to right. And I think honestly, it was a stronger response.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and completely agree with you. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Elseworlds was because of what we just said. What If was usually a one shot, maybe a two shot, maybe a two parter, but it was really that was kind of the one thing that I had problems with What If. It was like you had these great ideas, let's really let them breathe and tell the story, but they just crammed it into one issue. Whereas the Elseworld stuff, was living in that world, like Red Sun, Golden Age. I talked about in a past episode, and a lot of those characters have more staying power.
Yeah.
There's the Batman, was it by Gaslight,
Yeah, and there was the one where Batman was a vampire.
Batman becomes Dracula pretty
Yeah.
much, yeah.
Yeah, and that one they even kind of adapted that for the cartoon, the Justice League cartoon that came out. What was it, last year or the year before?
Yeah.
Yeah, where Batman was. I mean, he wasn't technically Batman in it. I mean, he wasn't Bruce Wayne,
Right.
but it was an interesting kind of idea to bring over into a cartoon
For
like
sure.
that, especially, and it was much more adult than you would have expected, which was also cool.
Right.
But my real reason for, besides the what if type scenario, one of these what ifs caught my eye as being the most ridiculous what if I think I've ever seen. And that would be, what if the spider had been bitten by a radioactive human?
So the actual insect was bitten by a rabid radioactive human being.
Yes. Yes, this happened.
So now the spider is imbued with power, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
With
I
the
mean,
proportionate strength of a human.
this is what made no sense because I'm reading this, and of course, Peter Parker in this is Webster Weaver.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's a world of spiders then?
Yeah. It's like actually no. It's more of a world of just animal creatures.
Okay.
His parents happened to be his aunt and uncle. It was Aunt Mayfly and Uncle Bug.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yep. That happened, and
These pages look very bizarre. These panels look very bizarre.
there was instead of J. Jonah Jameson, there was J. Jonah Jackass.
There you go. That works.
That's
That
pretty
works.
badass.
Because
though.
he's a donkey in
J.
this.
Jonah Jackass.
Yep. And so he decides to go to this exhibit where they're doing some scientific research. And he's like, oh, this sounds great. So Webster Weaver goes to see this demonstration. And the teacher there, or the professor, is a human that gets hit by radioactive waves and gets berserk and starts just running, doesn't see the spider, Webster Weaver, in front of his face, and Webster kind of gets stuck into his mouth a little bit, and the radioactive man bites his butt.
And the radioactive professor, looks like
Actually-
Bob Ross.
Yeah, he does.
He's got a big beard. And
Like a
Right,
ginger
got the
Bob
fro, got
Ross.
the fro, too.
He actually bites his hand, not his butt. I'm sorry. And so then it says, and this is what gets me, it says, something had happened to Webster Weaver. That radioactive bite had somehow endowed him with all the power of a human being. And he's like, wow, I feel healthier than a truckload of granola. And he's like bending iron bars and stuff. So apparently, as a spider, he was very weak. But when he got bit by the radioactive human, it made him very strong. And then he went out and he started to become kind of a celebrity and help fight crime a little bit and stuff. But they have the same story to where he lets this crook get by.
Oh, poor Uncle Bug, right?
And Uncle Bug does not make it. Now, the big difference with this one is eventually the crook is revealed. And when you reveal the crook is revealed as a can of Ray's bug killer.
Oh my goodness.
Obviously playing off the raid.
Yep.
Bug killer. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
A criminal disguise, a bug spray can disguised as a burglar.
Yep, and he wants to rid the world of insects.
What a piece of shit.
And it's up to Webster Weaver to stop it. Of course he does. And,
By the way, he's known as Man Spider, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Oh my god, what
yeah,
is some
Man
of the...
Spider.
And they're
was
showing
the Amazing Man Spider.
The Amazing Man Spider.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're showing, I'm looking at a panel with a bunch of his villains in like animal form.
Yep.
There's like the Shocker, what is he called?
The Shocker is... Where is the Shocker?
right here.
Oh, the Schlocker.
The Schlocker.
Let's see. Fishterio.
Fish-terio, guessing he's a fish.
The Incredible Hog.
Hog. Ha ha!
Porcus the Living Hampire. That I like that one. I like that one. That is awesome. That's my favorite right there. Porcius the Living Hampire.
Oh, well, you haven't heard Culture Vulture, Rude Rhino, Marvin the Hunter, the Green Gobbler, who's a turkey, of course, King Pig,
Mr.
the
Potato
King
Maid.
Pin,
Oh, King Pig. That's pretty dope.
Dr. Puss, the Cat O' Tails.
So he's a cat, Dr. Octopus, and instead of the tentacles on his body, his tail, he has 9 tails.
Yep, literally has 9 tails coming out. Looks like he's pooping metal worms.
That's awesome.
And then Leaping Lizard, yeah, that, and Bog Dog. I didn't think they were too creative on those, but you know, what are you gonna do? And yeah, the Spud of 1,000 Faces, Mr. Potato Head. Instead of head. Ha, ha, ha. But anyway, he stops the can of Ray's bug killer and saves the day and decides to go on fighting crime and seeking justice for all those who need him.
Do they have the great power comes great responsibility, or is it something else?
It's pretty close, yeah. Pretty close.
Who's the Mary Jane or the Gwen Stacy of the story?
I don't think we get that in depth yet.
Yeah, I don't think we're that in depth to it.
This is just an origin story about being bit by a rabid human being.
Yeah, there's a lady named Liz. And it's, you know, Liz, that wimpy Weaver really gets my goat. And he's a goat saying that, so really gets himself.
Man.
That's meta.
This is some writing.
Yeah. Yeah, conceived, drawn, written by Scott Shaw. So we have Scott Shaw to take to blame or thank for this. Special thanks to Dave Stevens, because they showed Howard the Duck for 2 seconds. And Roy Thomas was the editor on this. So thank you guys for this lovely story of Webster Weaver.
I'm glad you brought it in. That's a very unique story, I must say.
Yeah, this was something, I think I bought this trade. It's volume 2, to be honest. I never bought 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 or any of those, because this was like $1. I think at like a yard sale or something, and I just never read it. And I saw it on the shelf a couple weeks ago in my living room, and I was like, I should try looking into this, and I'm glad I did.
And the first Webster Weaver is now going for $9,000.
What?
My goodness.
Oh my God.
Because they're going to make a movie called Spider-Man Homecoming.
Man Spider.
Man Spider Homecoming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin, what was your 1980s and I ran so far
What kind of
away?
crap do you have, Kevin?
Well, I don't know if you can call it crap, but to me it's a classic mini-series, 3 issues from 1981, from Len Wein and John Constanza, The Tales of the Green Lantern Corps.
Nice.
Issues 1 through 3. Basically, you get the first appearance of Necron out of this particular series. And also one of the modern appearances of Krona.
Who's Krona?
Krona is one of the Guardians of the Universe. Well, actually, I guess you could say he was affiliated. He's from the same planet as them. So I wouldn't say he's one of the Guardians of the Universe. He was just one of their species, one of their fellow, Malthusians, if I'm saying it right. And basically, he was a guy who seeked a lot of knowledge. He was someone who wanted to see the beginning of time. He wanted to see, what happened before the beginning.
He's the one who is kind of responsible for the crisis on Infinite Earths, right? Something like that? Or like he's involved in that with the Monitor, Anti-Monitor, and like almost Krona.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then also, he basically had a machine, So he's like looking at this machine. He's looking at the beginning of time. He's looking for the origin of the universe, and then the machine like blows up. He's causing too much problems in the cosmos, and he sees this big hand come across holding the stars, and then it kind of like disembodies the machine. And then for some reason they say that evil came about because of Krona, because he was meddling with.
Because he saw too much.
Yeah, he saw too much. He was meddling with forces beyond his control, and with that, evil sprang around the universe. Because basically they said the universe was a perfect, place of harmony before this.
Until this asshole wanted to see something.
Until he wanted to see something. And
if it ain't broke, don't fix it, dick.
Yeah, pretty much. And so the people who would later become the Guardians of the Universe, they decided to punish him, of course, and they banished him. They turned him into like a light of energy or something like that, and sent him across the universe for an infinite amount of time. So you just be forever punished, just wandering around. And basically, they had to create the Manhunters first to help combat some of the evil in the universe. And then later, of course, when the Manhunters weren't working out too well, the Green Lantern Corps was created.
So this guy is not to be mistaken with Kronos.
No.
Right? They're two different characters.
Two different characters.
Okay, because Kronos is the time dude that we affiliate most often with, like, the Suicide Squad or the Secret Society of Supervillains.
Right. This is Krona, Krona.
Krona looked like a
little
fat
mustache.
Errol Flynn
little mustache
with blue skin.
Yeah, a little mustache. And for some reason, he's like taller than all the other guys. All the other like Owens. There's always little short little fellas.
Maybe that's why they were so. Maybe they came up with this conspiracy theory that he fucked up everything just so they could get rid of him because he was taller and they hated that.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Inferiority complex.
Inferiority complex. That's true. But basically, the story begins. They have like this big red alert. They have to have all the Green Lanterns assemble on Oa, and they have this big meeting.
All the Green Lanterns?
All 3,600.
Or the Green Lantern Eye.
Yes, Lantern Eye.
All 3,600, they all must assemble, and the Guardians tell them, hey, we got some problems here. We have this guy named Krona, and they explain to him who he is, and then just as they're getting into the conversation, Krona and his cronies attack, and the central power battery gets destroyed, killing a good portion of the Green Lanterns in the process. And as this portal is coming to happen, all hell's breaking loose. And some of the lanterns were able to repower the rings just in time, but of course, as you know, you only get 24 hours. So the battery's destroyed, and they basically have 24 hours to figure this out, defeat Krona, or all hell is going to break loose.
Right.
So later on, as the story goes, they capture one of Krona's troops. You find out he's from this dimension where Necron's from. And they explain to him who Necron is, being basically this, avatar of death.
Right.
And Krona, while he was banished, ended up entering Necron's realm. So it kind of pierced, a little fabric into that reality, or, whatever, a little crossover into his dimension. And they basically make a deal, basically if Krona can get repowered from Necron, he can go back into the regular universe, kill off some of the Guardians as a way to open a portal to Necron's universe. This is how Necron could come into the regular universe. So all this stuff goes down, and when it's all said and done, of course, our heroes will win, or do win. And they use one of the troops from Necron to get them into Necron's world.
Oh, so they get... Okay.
And also, some of the Green Lanterns that died, some of their souls and spirits were in the Necron universe. So, of course, Hal Jordan, being the big stud hero he is, he's able to use those spirits that are in Necron's universe to turn on Necron. So, of course, Necron's surprised, how could this happen? So forth and so on.
That's pretty badass, though.
And they defeat Necron. Although you really can't defeat Necron, just kind of keep him in his place. But Krona was the main...
Stay home,
stay
asshole.
home. Stay in your realm, basically. Stay in your realm. And Krona, of course, is defeated, and he's kind of sent back as well with the help of the Guardians.
Now, is Krona sent back in time?
No, not sent back in time.
Oh, man.
Just sent back into his...
They just make him a little energy again and...
Yeah, a little energy again. He kind of
shoot him
sent back.
across.
Yeah, him and his troops just kind of set back into their...
Get out of here.
So everybody has to go back to their room at the end.
Yeah. And of course,
Bad.
Like with any bad guy, he always says, you'll see me again, Guardians.
This isn't the last you've seen of
time.
And I think we do, right?
Yeah, of course.
20 years later or something.
Yes, 20 years later in Blackest Night.
Also, all this stuff is so... I'm like, man, every 20 years, the battery gets broken, a bunch of...
Green Lanterns die. Or
Green
maybe better,
Lanterns
a bunch of Guardians die.
A bunch of Guardians die, or a bunch of the Corps die. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe they should do like a story where Hal Jordan just kind of goes insane and kills everybody. I think that would be cool.
No, that would never work.
Okay.
Wait a minute. You know what? I got an idea. You call the story like Emerald Dawn or something like that?
No, I don't think so.
No.
That sounds bad. I would go with like
terrible.
Emerald Twilight.
Emerald
Yeah.
Twilight.
Yeah.
Ah, yes,
I would
yes,
go with
yes.
something like that.
And then you give him some gray sideburns.
Show that he's been someplace. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
make sure he has like 500 rings
the
on his
man's
finger.
age. I do notice that about comic books. They don't keep characters old usually for too long.
No. Yeah, he went right back to being like young stud.
Yeah, I
Hal
think
Jordan.
Reed Richards is still one of the few that has the
Has the
him
gray.
and,
Oh,
I
and
think
Doctor
Doctor
Strange.
Strange.
Doctor
Yeah,
Strange still got a little gray on
they
him.
both have gray on the sides a little bit.
Yeah.
And Professor X is
I
still...
like that.
Professor X is still bald. He never grows his hair back.
Yeah.
Although he has walked.
Oh, yes.
Walked
several times.
Been crippled again. That guy's got to be pretty frustrated.
Yeah.
He's like, "Am I walking or not?"
Come on, guys. Imagine if you were ruled by some assholes like ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
In like, let's say we were in the comic book world right now. This is a comic book, and someone is writing our pages.
Right.
How pissed off would you be if you actually knew that this was taking place?
Like, in other words, you're a puppet, essentially.
Yeah, that someone's controlling you. That would be nuts.
I don't know. I might start just kissing ass and being like, "Hey, why don't you write me in a room full of Brazilian women, with a bottle of champagne,
And imbue me with cosmic power.
They're going to give you the largest Brazilian.
I know. I was gonna say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, no problem. Let's
A
just
bunch
do
of
this.
80-year-old.
Be hilarious.
Yeah.
He'll be changing diapers all day. It'll be fun."
Wait, did one of those Blackest Night spin-offs have something like that? Where what's his name? Superboy Prime, someone was kind of like writing his story, and he was like upset about it. I think it was like an Adventure Comics.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm
That's
sure that.
Well, that's what
place.
Deadpool's like infamous for, right? He knows
Yeah.
he's in the comic
Yeah,
book.
he breaks
right?
the fourth wall.
Breaks the fourth wall.
Yep, he knows it's the whole world's a joke, which I find that fascinating to them to have done that with the character. I think that was what was his name? Kelly.
Is it Joe Kelly?
Joe Kelly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's the guy that basically. I mean, we'll give props to Liefeld. He's he's the creator of the character, but until Kelly came along,
He gave it some life.
He wasn't really anything. He
gave
was
it
just
some
just a merc. He wasn't the merc with a mouth. He was just a merc.
He was like Spider-Man mercenary, because he would like have like little quips and jokes, and then
Yeah.
that was about it.
Yeah, that's it. And then Kelly was just kind of like, we're gonna break the fourth wall on this. We're gonna make him know that everything, is a big joke. And
Well, which was what we talked about before, which was the character. He was Deathstroke, right? It was a spoof on
Yeah.
Deathstroke.
Mhm.
So kind of going back to the roots, if you want to.
yeah, absolutely.
What
What do you have?
I have.
Jarrett?
This is a storyline from the 80s that I probably read once a year because I just love it. It was called Avengers. It was eventually called Avengers Under Siege. It was a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-part storyline that stuck with the Avengers.
Now let me just point something out here real quick.
Yeah.
This shows the difference in our styles here.
Indeed.
I bring a trade, which is collected volume of the issues of the stories that I go over.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin brings individual books that he has purchased, and Jarrett brings an iPad with his digital downloads.
With all my library.
Right. So it's just interesting to see the three of us, not even knowing or talking about it, brought three different ways
That's
to
right.
read a story.
You could read comics however you goddamn want to, need to, have to, but do it.
Exactly. I think it's important, to mention that it. While I'm, more of a purist, and I'm sure Kevin
Indeed.
himself is, and I know you are as well, Jarrett. No matter how you get to read comic books, I think it's important that you read them.
Yeah.
Because this is an art form that needs to be treasured forever.
Yeah, and I definitely...
it must be passed on to the next generation.
For sure. And to continue on the segue, too, I would definitely say, like, getting back into comics, like, hardcore as of lately, too, as far as, like, new books and stuff, it's so... I missed going into the shops and getting... like books or picking up books
And talking to people.
about it. Yeah, exactly. And it's and the one good thing about the resurgence right now is that comic stores are getting a lot more business now. There's a downside as far as like we've talked many times, pricing and stuff like that, because the shops got to combat with eBay, and eBay's a monster sometimes. But no, it's great to be back. into comics, and it's great to be back into the store and grabbing books.
We got you something here. We made you a cake.
What?
It's a welcome back to comics cake that we
Thank
made
you.
for you. So here you go.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoy it.
Blow out the candles later, though. Not
Okay, no, I'll just let them burn, let the wax melt.
It's
So-
getting a little smoky. It's a lot of candles.
So this story, Under Siege Avengers, it ran from Avengers 270 to 277. It was written by Roger Stern with art by John Buscema. I love the Buscema brothers. I think they're brothers, right? Sal and John.
Sure, why not?
I love their art. It was a really interesting team of Avengers. There was the Black Knight.
Yeah.
Hercules.
Now let's talk about this Black Knight guy a little
Yeah,
bit.
Black Knight. Some people are off on the Black Knight. Some people,
Those people are wrong.
and those people are wrong. If you're gonna really, this story, if you're a new to the Black Knight, is a cool. His run on Avengers in the team, which went for a while, really made the character, I thought, evolve more than just some guy who was possibly possessed by a spirit from medieval times and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was really cool. Dane Whitman, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, I think a candy bar in England.
Yeah. Good old Dane Whitman.
Cheerio, get myself a Dane Whitman.
So the story starts out with kind of a tease. A little bugged me because I'm a big Namor fan, Submariner. And it starts out with Submariner joining the Avengers. And everybody's kind of down on him because if you know the history of Submariner, he's good, bad. But, one day he's taking over the surface world as an Atlantean, and one day he's embracing his human roots. And so there's all these protests.
He's bipolar.
Exactly, he's bipolar. There's all these protests against him joining the Avengers, like, you killed my dad, like, who was a longshoreman in 1929, something like that. And so he joins a team, and then immediately something happens in Atlantis and he leaves. So that was kind of a tease. But in the midst of this, in the background, are all these kind of costume villains, very systematically and very strategically, for a better word, fucking with the Avengers. So while Namor is getting protested, you have this one lady who gets out and starts like saying all these fabricated lies about all the horrible things he's done, and somebody's like, I recognize that girl. And it turns out it's Moonstone. Moonstone was a villain who I think was originally in Hulk back in the 80s. She's got this kind of like feminine Ultraman outfit. She had powers from a moonstone.
Oh, of course.
Exactly.
I mean,
but she was a pretty cool character. She was also like a scientist. I
so
think.
that's she went on a ring, right? A moonstone ring, and then if your emotions would
Whatever
change
her
it.
personality. Yeah, exactly. She got it at the pier. No. And then you have Grey Gargoyle, Screaming Mimi, who eventually becomes Songbird.
I love Grey Gargoyle.
Yeah, and Grey Gargoyle.
Now there's a guy I can get behind. He's beastly. Like he's a huge dude. He's made out of pretty much stone.
And he was a scientist too, so he's smart.
Yeah, he's smart, and he has this kick-ass mustache.
Uh-huh.
This thing won't quit.
Yeah.
I mean, man, when I was
Like
a
better
kid,
than Tony Stark mustache.
I was like, a Tony Stark mustache looked stupid to me when I was a kid, but
Right.
like I could get behind Grey
Grey
Gargoyle.
Gargoyle was dope.
I was like, man, I'm gonna get me one of those.
And if he touched you, turned to stone.
Yeah, just
Kind
like
of fucked.
Medusa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Grey Gargoyle, Screaming Mimi, and a girl Yellow Jacket who's a villain. You still don't know who anybody is working for, but they're just doing all these calculated attacks on the Avengers. They fight Black Knight, Wasp, and the mercenary Paladin, who I've always liked too. The guy in the purple, like bulletproof vest. Had the stun gun. Because he was dating Janet Van Dyne, the Wasp. So they get into a fight with the Grey Gargoyle, Yellow Jacket, and Screaming Mimi, and defeat them. And they're like, why are they attacking us out of the blue? What we don't know is behind the scenes, Baron Zemo II, the son of the original Baron Zemo, also the villain in Civil War, the Captain America Civil War movie. He is assembling one of the most kick-ass, badass groups of the Masters of Evil, as they've been called. But this team is the Wrecking Crew, which is Bulldozer, Piledriver, Thunderball, the Wrecker. These are all guys who've gone toe-to-toe with Thor. You've got the girl Yellow Jacket, Tiger Shark, who's gone up toe-to-toe with Namor. You got Absorbing Man and Titania. You've got Moonstone. You've got Goliath. You've got Mr. Hyde.
Yeah, Mr. Hyde.
The Fixer, and Blackout, who is this character who can control energy from the dark dimension. All these characters are going up against the Avengers, but what they're doing is it's smart. They're not just going like, all right, us against you outside the back of the school, and we're all going to fight, and we'll probably lose. they go to the heart of the Avengers, and that is the Avengers Mansion. They go to their home. You don't take over a person. You don't go to another man's home and fuck with it.
No, you don't.
And they break in to the home. They capture Jarvis. They capture, I think, Captain America. They pretty much they know that Hercules is getting Hercules is like an alcoholic, like a bad alcoholic. So he's a god. So the amount of alcohol he's drinking has got to be insane. They take over the mansion without anybody knowing, and they take it over. So then, anytime an Avenger comes back to the mansion just by themselves, surprise attack by like 16 villains. So
okay.
So Jarvis, they beat the shit out of Jarvis, the butler. Mr. Hyde beats the fuck out of Jarvis in front of Captain America.
No powers, by the
totally
way, Jarvis.
This is the fucked up thing. So Captain America, as we all know, was frozen in ice for years, comes back to the present. He didn't have many belongings that he had originally from the 40s. He had one picture of his mother. Baron Zemo rips it up in front of him.
Oh.
They take his original shield. Mr. Hyde bends it and crumbles it in front of him while crippling and beating the shit out of Jarvis in front of him because Captain America is like bound and tied, his shield's all away. They get the Black Knight. They take his sword away. They eventually lure Hercules in, and Hercules is the muscle of the team. And the Wrecking Crew, Goliath, all of them jump Hercules and beat him nearly to death. And then just to say, we don't even give a shit, they have the tentacles of because they're in control of all the security of Avengers Mansion.
I love this cover, by the way.
Great covers.
Hercules' Last Stand. It's got him being held by the neck back by one of the Wrecking Crew. And then Hercules is holding on to what looks like
it's the Wrecker's crowbar.
Yeah, the crowbar, and trying to keep him from hitting him with it.
Yeah.
And then there's like 4 other characters as the other things swinging or getting ready to punch him.
Surrounded, yeah.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
And that's literally what happens in the issue. They just surprise him like that. He knocks a couple dudes out, and then they just pummel him. Like, it's brutal. And then they take his body and just throw it out in front of, because now they're like, they get this blackout guy to put a dome of pure black, solid, dark energy. So the army now everybody's knowing what's going on, and some Avengers that are still on the outside know what's going on, but they can't even get back into their house because it's impenetrable by this dark force. So they let the dark force open up, and Hercules comes out dead, for more or less. Like the Wasp feels his pulse, and she's like, "There's no pulse." Like, they just killed a god. Like, and they have our mansion. So then, and this is how it's even so fucked up. So then Baron Zemo's like, you know what? Hercules, maybe we shouldn't have let him go. And then they find out Hercules actually has a pulse, so it's kind of hard to tell because he's a god, but he's like barely alive. They send Absorbing Man and Titania to the hospital to kill him, to make sure he's dead.
Wow.
Jeez.
That's serious business.
Yeah.
Wow.
And meanwhile, inside the mansion is all this torture stuff going on where they're just beating up and just not only breaking like their bodies, but breaking their heart. Like, they beat up the Black Knight in front of, they have Mr. Hyde.
Breaking his spirit, I like that.
Totally. So, who is the only people to be able to, the only Avengers left to stand up at this time to the Absorbing Man and Titania? The Absorbing Man, if you don't know, can absorb any element, anything, and make himself that strong. He can absorb steel, become steel. And Titania went toe-to-toe with the She-Hulk. She's like on that strength level. The only people to stand between a hospital bed with a dying Hercules and these two brutes is the Wasp and Scott Lang Ant-Man, who is the movie Ant-Man as we now know.
Right.
And they beat... And justifiably, totally within reason, they beat them. They beat Titania and they beat Absorbing Man. Like, they just, by using their smarts and using their size control, they, like, go into, like, Absorbing Man's ear. They get him to, like, absorb, like, water and then, like, put electricity on it. Like, they like, it's actually, like, a legit, they beat them.
Right.
So they save Hercules' life. So then, now it's time for revenge. And this is where it gets badass. So Black Knight, I think, frees himself. Captain America frees himself. Thor, who's been on, like, some Asgardian hiatus, comes back and is like, oh, looks like some shit's going down. Looks like you might need a Thor. And they're like, yeah, we do. Captain Marvel, the girl Captain Marvel, God, what was her name? No, but she was super powerful. She was actually able to not get caught because she could fly at the speed of light and had, like, a crazy amount of powers. Something Rambeau. Like, Monica Rambeau. I'm almost positive. And then Dr. Druid comes to join the team. The, like, kind of pseudo-sorcerer guy.
Oh, yeah.
So you have the Black Knight, you have Captain America, Thor, Captain Marvel, and Dr. Druid all go back. They get into the mansion, and then it's just a knockdown, drag-out fight. You have a really cool battle. Thor comes in, and because the Wrecking Crew originally got their powers from Asgardian magic, he goes in, and he just, like, sucks it all out of them, so they're done.
Yeah, you're right, by the way. It's Monica Rambeau.
Oh, my God. I am a nerd to the max. I love it. So
basically, he just basically depowers them.
He depowers them, which takes out some of their big guns. Black Knight and Mr. Hyde, I think, have a really good fight. And Goliath and Thor go at it. The Wrecker and Captain America go at it. And then finally it ends with Baron Zemo and Captain America on a roof, and they're fighting. And Baron Zemo gets knocked back, and he's falling, and he reaches, and Captain America, because he's such a good Boy Scout, is like, and, you know, moral guy, he's like, take my hand, don't fall off the roof. And he's like, no, I'd rather fucking die than take your hand.
Wow.
And just falls back, and, like, I don't think he dies, but he, like, gets knocked out.
He does
and,
a
like,
Hans Gruber,
yeah,
man.
completely Hans Gruber. So, but at the end, one of the last panels is like, Avengers Mansion is, like, decimated by the end of this because there's just been, you know, this huge battle. And they win. Blackout ends up dying because he gets, like, his mind is getting manipulated by Baron Zemo and all these other people, and his brain pretty much has, like, an aneurysm and dies. Baron Zemo pretty much almost dies. And then at the end, they're like, yeah, we won. And then you see Captain America sitting there crying. And they're like, what's wrong? And he holds up the picture of his mother that's been ripped in half, the only picture he has of his mother.
Oh, no.
He's like, I don't care about the shield. I don't care about them beating me up, but they fucking ripped the picture of my mom.
So now they crossed the line.
Yeah. And, you know, you could probably count on your hand how many times you've seen Captain America cry in a book, you know, like have them do something to have him go that low. So it's just such a cool story because it's got heart, it's got
a lot of action.
A lot of action, a lot of cool characters, and it's just well done. And it's a real, like, it's just a true Avengers story. You got, like, all Avengers from past and old. You've got, like, this list of, like, this great list of villains. To me, it's just what I love about comics.
What year did this come out in?
This was, I think it was early. It was like 87?
87.
87 or 88.
And this is my favorite type of book.
Right.
When you have like with the Hellfire Club and Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's like the last X-Men, and he's down in the sewers.
When it's like a
you know.
team against a
Yeah.
team, and it's drawn out. Like,
right.
it's real.
When
Yeah.
it's a systematic type thing, when it's intelligently done, it's not
Right.
just fighting. It's evil.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's evil. There's I'm gonna punch you. I'll punch you back. You know, there's that, right? There's just superheroes and villains fighting, which we get too much of. It gets a little boring.
Right.
But when they're systematically trying to break down
They're
a
picking
team,
you apart. They're picking you apart.
yeah, that to me is the best kind of storytelling. That
That's
to me is
what-
very exciting.
That's why I enjoyed, Jared, I'm sure you'll be down with this as well, the Uncanny X-Force run.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had something like that going down.
Which run?
The Remender one?
Yeah, the Remender one. Rick Remender one.
So one of the most recent runs.
Yes, one of the most recent runs. That was awesome because that's exactly what happened. They were at certain points they were being picked off and being picked apart.
Right.
And the story was such more rich, more powerful. You know, you're wondering, are they going to make it? You feel the intensity.
And Remender, he can write the hell out of a team book.
Yes, he
When,
can.
it-
Yeah,
when
he
it's a
is great.
team. Don't put him on an individual character, though.
Right.
That's what I found, because when he started writing Captain America, I fell asleep.
Yeah, Cap's a hard... You got to have a real... One of my favorite Cap writers is Grunwald, Mark Grunwald.
Well, he wrote it for...
He wrote it for, like,
Ever.
hundreds of issues.
Yeah.
But he actually really made him the character that I fell in love with because he was, like... He had these morals, but he was always... It was almost like an OCD thing. Like, he wanted to be the best person he could be, but he realized that the realities of the world he was in were not... Like, you know, they do that whole run where he gives up being Cap because the government is, like... He's not agreeing with them. He doesn't agree with his country.
He
you know?
becomes, what, Nomad?
Becomes Nomad, and then he becomes the captain,
Mm-hmm.
which becomes U.S. agent, blah blah blah, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about the Under Siege storyline too is you can get it. They did a collection of it in a graphic novel called Under Siege, or you can get the issues. Like I said, it's 270 to 277, and yeah, it's just like I said, it's a storyline I read once a year because it's just fun.
It's that
I
good.
love it.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me. I think I might seek it out, actually. It sounds right up my alley.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd not really heard about that. But with that being said, gentlemen, I think we are
Out of time.
out of time here for today.
So, you know, all those things that we like you to do, rate, review,
Subscribe.
subscribe first, and then rate, review.
And
Check out our YouTube channel. What else? Just love us.
Also, support your local comic shops.
Yes.
Yes.
Always support your local comic
Definitely.
shops.
Just drive past them, throw money out your window at them.
Yes.
Even if you can't stop in.
Yeah. Just say comics and throw a brick with like $5.
Like a roll of quarters in a sock.
Comics!
And make sure to hit them with it
Yeah.
so they know that you're giving them the money.
Or even if you want to do better publicity, throw it through the window, then say, the real short buck says hi.
Oh, God.
We actually
All
don't
right.
do that.
This is our last show.
Yeah, that was our last show. We were sued.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll see you at the comic shops.